What is up, everyone? It is Jonathan Lee from the Human Experience, the Human XPRNC. Hey, I wanted to um, just share with you guys tonight all that I have to share. And I'm a little nervous, to be completely honest. This is all new to me. This whole forum is new to me. It's not something I'm necessarily comfortable with. It's not necessarily something that I have ever done. So I guess I should give a little background first and foremost. I was a kid who grew up in a home of two people that were good people, but there was mental health involved. To be vulnerable, my mother had some mental health issues and diagnoses, and it really affected my parents' relationship as well as our dynamic. So it was something that I've dealt with my whole life and have gone to counseling for. Me and my mother have a great relationship now, and there's been a lot of work that's been done around that. Forgiveness. I had to bury resentment and pain and hurt, and it wasn't easy, but it was exactly what I needed to do to heal and to move on and to process all that feeling, emotion, and all the experience that I went through. So I moved on into kind of a safety net of friends through my youth group when I was going to high school, and these kids became lifelong friends. Some in high school and some in the youth group, and they were my safety net. That's who I ran to. It was a great community of people that's still an incredible community of people for me. So the greatest part was they weren't just my rescue, but I was sometimes their rescue, and it was a mutual thing. That's what we did. And moved into college, went to University of Vanguard, so Vanguard University in Southern California, and studied pastoral studies as well as an English minor. And after 1 year, just decided that wasn't the school for me, and had joined a band. I was a worship leader in the youth group as well, and continued on into music. Toured. Later in my career, I played for 16 years after moving to Colorado in 2003 and starting my career over there. Toured a little bit at the end of my career there for the last 2 summers, and had some pretty successful events through the music scene, saw a decent amount of the country, played with some incredible bands, and had some incredible experiences. It grew me a lot. It was a lot of hard times as well. It was pain, there was letdown, there was constant pushing without any return. And the only return was every single night that I played and the connection that I had with the people in front of me. It was an experience I can never explain truly in words. It was unbelievable. So after music, moved into working for a construction company and going to school to be an EMT, and was leading into a fire medic. Wanted to be a fire medic and was volunteering on a couple fire stations, and tested for Denver and got a pretty high score on the test, moved on through that, and didn't get invited to the next process. There were higher scores and too many higher scores. So the next year I went back and took the test and got a even higher score, and was called the first round. Went through and was not called to the oral boards. So it was just a big blow. I thought this was like my destiny. This is what I was meant to do. This is my purpose. I wanted to give back. I wanted to do something to change people's lives. I wanted to make an impact on the world. All these things that I wanted to do, I thought I could do through firefighting and do it in a personal way. And the universe, God, if I do say so myself, decided that wasn't my path. The path that I then took next was moving into a safety and security director position for a private Christian school, as well as doing a little counseling with some of the kids that were having trouble in school and mentoring them. And it was probably one of the most comfortable and rewarding positions I've ever had. I had been a youth leader. I had been a leader in my youth group when I was younger. Um, I was constantly drawn to kids and taking care of kids, taking them under my wing and teaching them things, and um, just a kind of a natural father instinct, I guess, was always there. I had a lot of cousins that were younger than me on one side of my family, and on the other side, I was the second youngest. It was a very interesting dynamic in my life, but I got to see and experience a lot of the older side, and also transition that into taking care of the younger side. And so it was really fruitful for me, I would say. And so this position I had at the school was probably, in my mind, my ideal position, because I was changing lives, I was impacting society, and I was doing it through children that were having issues that I was able to turn around and turn those into positives and change behaviors and change grades and things of that nature, and change family dynamics at some points too. And it was incredible. Some of the relationships I built with these kids are still super important to me. Maintain contact. We'll be visiting with one of them very soon that's really close to me, and it's just something that's still with me. So obviously that position is not with me anymore, and that's why I'm here. I was driving part-time for Uber and Lyft while I was doing that position, and the position, the school and I obviously had gone our separate ways, and I started working full-time for Uber and Lyft because it was 6 weeks before my wedding. As a man, this crushed me. It took me down. 3 days I was just honestly depressed, miserable. I thought everything that I could negatively, every lie that the world could tell me, that I was not a good provider, that I wasn't a good future husband, that I wasn't a good future, father, I wasn't a good future son-in-law, that I wasn't a great leader of men, leader of my kids, and example of a man to my kids. I mean, in any way, shape, and form, I told myself the lie. And I decided that after I took that Friday, Saturday, and Sunday to just work through, sift through, and process through all of the feelings and emotions I was going through and what had just happened, I needed to get my butt in gear and just do what I knew best to do, what I've always just done, and that was get through it. And so I started driving full time, and about 2 weeks in, I got a delivery. I was driving with my wife, I believe it was to the grocery store, and I remember turning to her and saying, "Babe," and I was on the verge of tears. I had felt this almost punch in the gut, this how do I say, just resonating voice in my head telling me that I needed to write a book. My experiences with these kids, outside of me fathering my own children, it was eye-opening. The studies that I came upon, the numbers that I was seeing, the outright true signs of mental health growing in a community of children was astonishing to me. I started thinking about my school life and my school years, and I just could not relate to what was going on. I didn't remember it being like that. Even dealing with what I was dealing with at home, kids were not acting out, I feel, as much or maybe as similarly as they are today. And so it was very interesting to me, and I started asking questions as to why and where did this where's the root of this, not why is the behavior continuing. It was, where's the behavior even coming from, and what is it a retaliation of? I just truly didn't believe that kids would come to school and do some bad things because they just were bad people. And knowing the psychology behind abuse and the psychology behind all forms of abuse, not just physical, not just mental, not just verbal, You know, sometimes, well, the neglect that's there, that is physical or mental, that isn't seen as abuse, but that can be abuse. And so these things just started coming to me, and connections were formed here and there, left and right. I mean, my mind was firing at 1,000,000 miles an hour. And so this day I'm in the car, I tell my wife, I'm scared to death, but I need to tell you. I turn to her in the car and I say, babe, I need to tell you, I think I'm supposed to write a book. And she looks at me and goes, really? And I said, yeah, I think I'm supposed to write a book about the mental health issue in our country. And she said, I think that's exactly what you're supposed to do. The support that I felt from my now wife was truly the catapult that sent me on this journey. I've never felt so fully supported in something that felt so radical to me. I don't have my degree in writing or journalism or any of English or any of those things that I originally started studying. I went on so many different routes through management and retail, to safety management and construction, to safety supervision and mentoring and counseling in a school, and firefighting, and touring as a musician for a couple years, and working as a server. I mean, all kinds of experiences with people and interactions with people, and always trying to give back through what I was doing. It started occurring to me that there was some big cultural differences in our world today, from a lot of other countries. In fact, I would say all other countries. The connections that I've made are astounding, and in my mind, and as I've spoken to some people and shared with my family and my friends, and sometimes some people that are in my car and ask me what I'm doing and what I do outside of Uber and Lyft, it has in some incredible numbers come back to me that this is something that I need to do. I would almost venture out to say that 95% of the people that I've spoke to have 100% backed this book being written. And folks, I just am so inspired to do this, to put some connections together, to talk about some cultural behaviors that we have formed because of the advancement in our country and the pace of life that we have yet to find a way to slow down and to manage and balance out efficiently for all lives. And there are some things that I feel we can do as human beings to really take a look at the psychological aspects of our cultural choices and start making some small choices daily to make some big changes nationally, and to really influence the next generation, our children, the ones that are going to lead this country in the next 40 to 50 years, to influence them, to leave our legacy, which is them, in the healthiest position that we've ever seen our country in, after we have been seeing the unhealthiest trends that we've ever seen. Folks, this is the most serious time for me to speak up because of the mental health that I experienced as a child, and went through counseling for, and got tools for, and dove into psychology because of. It has been something I have constantly been stuck studying, because I just was so drawn to how the brain works, how it's affected, and how we can get ahead of it. So I'm writing this book, and I'm hoping that as it is finalized and all the pieces come together and are put into one big piece of literature, that there'd be support in purchasing it, and at least giving me a shot to read through it. As you watch some of my content and hear some of my content, see some of my content, maybe even feel some of my content through an avenue that I'm not sure we really truly can feel, but I'm fighting for it. So if you can, I'm hoping that you'll pick this book up and you'll just keep following me and keep spreading the word, and sharing this forum at this point, so that I can keep getting the word out about this, so that when this book is released, that it makes an immediate impact and we start changing the world together. Folks, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for listening to me, and I hope that you all have a great evening. I'm Jonathan Lee, and this is The Human Experience.